Welcome to 755 Live, about 5 minutes of what Jesus said. A different command of Jesus can be found every weekday at the Today Church Bible Plan at bible.today.church. There's also some helpful resources there for you to take advantage of as we read the Bible together and learn the commands of Jesus. Good morning, Malcolm. Good to see you today. These 750 live or 755 live segments are just a soundbite version of a command of Jesus, and then we read that and talk about it. If this is meaningful to you, if it's helpful, if you enjoy it, it helps us, and it would mean a lot to me if you like it on social media, wherever you watch, share it, comment. It just helps that social media algorithm get the word out, and we want to make much of Jesus. Today's Jesus Said comes from Matthew 21 and John 15. So we're going to read several verses this morning. The soundbite version of these commands is, Jesus said, have faith and ask, prayer works. The story from Matthew 28, we're going to pick up in verse 18. Now, early in the morning, as Jesus, returned to the city, returned to Jerusalem, he was hungry. After noticing a fig tree by the road, he went to it, but found nothing on it except leaves. And he said, never again will there be fruit from you. And the fig tree withered at once. It just shriveled up, kind of an amazing thing. And when the disciples saw it, they were amazed, saying, how did the fig tree wither so quickly? And Jesus answered them, I tell you the truth, if you have faith and do not doubt, but not only will you do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, if you believe, you will receive. Jesus said, have faith and ask. Prayer works. John 15 and 7 says, and this is Jesus talking, he said, if you remain in me and my words remain in you, you can ask what you will and it will be done for you. It's an amazing story. I mean, Jesus walking along sees a fig tree, doesn't have any fruit. It was evidently the time of the year when there should have been fruit on this fig tree. And he cursed the tree. And immediately it withered and died. Now, I think there's some symbolism here. We don't have time to go into all of that, but later on, Jesus went into Jerusalem, went into the temple, and he cleansed the temple because they had made it a marketplace, a place of commerce, and a place of convenience. Just really missing the point and the heart behind what worship was. And so they weren't bearing the fruit of righteousness, and he cleansed the temple. Well, I think that's the symbolism here of the fig tree withering. But the important part of this is that Jesus said that we could do even greater things than this. In fact, he said we could even say to a mountain, be moved, and it would be done. He said, whatever we ask in prayer, if you believe, you will receive. But it's conditional. He also said, if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you want, and it will be done for you. Jesus said that he only did what he saw the Father was doing. In the same way, we must be plugged in to what Jesus commanded in order to be a part of what God is doing. Earlier in John 15, in verse 4, Jesus said, remain in me and I will remain in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. And then in verse 8, he says that the Father is honored by this, that you bear much fruit and show that you are disciples. And then he goes on to talk about obeying, asking for what we need in prayer is not, as someone earlier today said, it's not like God is a genie in a bottle doing everything that we want. Prayer And faith is relationship. Prayer doesn't change God, it changes us. And we can have faith and ask, and prayer works. But our responsibility is to stay plugged in to Jesus. And he said, if we remain in him and his words remain in us, then we can ask what we will. So faith is a part of obedience. Jesus said, have faith and ask. Prayer works. But he said, we must abide in him. Because as we abide in him, the desires of our heart change. And we are more concerned about doing what the Father is doing, not just what our own desires are. Have faith and ask. Prayer works. Prayer doesn't change God. It changes us. That's what Jesus said. How can we put that into action today?